Good morning, everyone. I'm Coco Alquas, Executive Director of Makati Business Club. Thank you very much for joining us for this for today's session. Whether you're here in Makati or you're joining us at home, I think we can see them on Teams. Can we? Could I ask everyone on Teams to turn on their cameras so we can see you? Can they hear me? Could I ask the people on Teams to turn on their cameras? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Before we begin, could I invite everyone here in the room? I think we've filled the seats exactly. Congratulations to Michelle and Bianca for the proper counting. Could I ask everyone here in the room to, on my count of three, to say hello to each other and to say hello to the people who are joining us on Zoom. Could we see them again, please? I'll just count to three. And when we do that, we're going to take a photo of you, or several photos of you. So if you want to wave at them, please feel free to wave at them. 1, 2, sorry. You can look over here. 1, 2, 3, hello. 1, 2, 3, good morning. One more time. 1, 2, 3, good morning. And now could I ask the people who are on Microsoft Teams to please turn on their cameras. And on my count of three, and I'll do it 3 times also. On my count of 3, could I ask you to say hello to the people here in the room? 1, 2, and 3. The people on Teams, could you wave and say hello and smile? 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure they're all doing it. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to our signature series, Leading in Extraordinary Times, a partnership with Microsoft Philippines. We are on our 3rd year in this partnership, and this is the 2nd installment in this 3rd year. We started this series just months into pandemic to give members and other executives the opportunity to hear from and talk with each other on navigating the crisis. Now, there is still COVID and its long-term effects. Around the world, we are now seeing rising inflation and interest rates and possible recession. But we also have recovery, catch up, and seizing all the opportunities that these changes are providing for us. Thank you again to our partner, Microsoft, for this 3-year partnership. I believe Microsoft's country manager, Peter Makera, is joining us from via Microsoft Teams. Hi, Peter, if you're there. And to our sponsors, Huawei, who is represented here. Huawei, could you raise your hand? Thank you very much. And Health Now. Is Health Now here? Health Now? No Health Now. And our media partners, ANC and BusinessWorld. Allow me as well to acknowledge the presence of our board members. I think Risa Mantaring and Dr. Aris Alip are joining us via Teams. Will we see them or no? Our main speaker today, as you all know, is Dennis Anthony Uy, the CEO of Converge ICT. But we also have a discussion leader to share opening remarks and to introduce Dennis and then formally lead the chat with him later on. Benji Romualdez joined Telstra, the Australian telco, as Philippine Managing Director 3 years ago. He is GM of their joint venture, Telstra Converge, which was organized last year to improve end-to-end solutions and connectivity in the Philippines. Benj previously worked for companies like Sykes and Integrion. He is currently on the board of the Australian-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce. Benj, thank you very much for agreeing to be our discussion leader. Does Benj have a mic? Thanks very much for agreeing to lead our discussion today. Benj, you know Converge very well, and Dennis as well. Could you tell us, without preempting your remarks too much, which I will allow you to do in a while, what would you say is the most important thing people in this room and on Teams should know or remember or watch out for when it comes to Converge ICT?
Well, I think thanks, Coco. I think the growth trajectory of Converge is something that people should watch out for. We're connected with Converge. Not just in the connectivity and the landing station, but in many other ways, including our values. But when the two companies combine, you have Telstra's subsea network plus Converge's Philippine network. It's going to be a partnership that everyone should take note of and will recognize for years to come.
Thanks very much, Benj.
Good morning. It is an honor to speak before the pillar of the business community today. It is good to see the face and colleagues and friends, especially after such long of virtual gatherings. Thank you for the invitation to talk about the leadership in extraordinary times. I'm sure that all of you here today have shown leadership during the pandemic, especially in maintaining jobs while keeping the business afloat. But speaking for the telco and the ICT sector, an industry that has become a backbone of economy overnight, I would like to share an extraordinary story. The pandemic, the big hit came to a surprise to everyone. It disrupted our plans, our way living, and our way of working. But disruption is not always a bad thing. This is a mindset we have in Converge. When my wife, Grace, and I decided to start offering fiber connectivity outside of my hometown, Pampanga, we knew disruption was necessary. Now, generally speaking, if you are talking about downturn, failures, and challenges, Converge is not stranger on those. Hindi na po bago sa akin yan. In 1991, right before I'm going to start the cable business in Angeles City and Clark, the national catastrophe happened in Pampanga. Mount Pinatubo erupted and the local economy in Pampanga was totally collapsed. I set a cable television network after happening that people said to me, I'm crazy. I already planned an investment and of course, the disaster derailed all the business. Imagine during that time, the economic in Clark totally asked for cover of the houses. Before the Pinatubo, the houses cost you at 2 million, and they said it just only 80,000 up to 100,000 per houses. So totally out. 40,000 employment working with the Clark field totally lost a job, and Pinatubo forced American out of the country. Another challenge I encountered was during the time when I was expanded to Metro Manila. Converge, the first enter to Metro Manila by 2009 through a partnership with the second large cable operator. With the technology I have learned from outside of the country, I'm usually the tech guy traveling a lot around the world to make sure I can learn new technology and implement here. So with the province operation and came to Metro Manila with the partnership with the second cable operator, I give the technology to them, not touch them a consumer base, but the excess of the capacity of fiber, I use it for the enterprise, which is I started in Metro Manila. And just about where to key take off of that business for a few years. the cable company bought by bigger operator. And that's provide the internet service the same. So paano na yan? So I need to decide what kind of technology, and you need to think out of box and learning from best practices from other country and bring it to the country. So this is, I introduced a lot of new technology to able, and I decided to expand our own and gradually build our own infrastructure to strengthen our organization. That decision brought us where we are now. In 2016, Converge was launched in the media. You knew that the needed of the build our own digital highway to able to give the Filipino nationwide connectivity they deserve. If you look at the video at Converge media launch at 2016 and on YouTube, it's still there. You will see me there and what is the plan. I have no idea how we are going to do, how we're going to do it. We had no money at that time. By believing and needed to do this to help the country, and you have proper plan, you have a proper good mission, and we know this technology will help the country. In face of all these challenges that I told myself, was everything happened for a reason. There is a failure in the business must in the same way had been preparing me for the much bigger challenge. Prior the pandemic, and fortunately, I got a big investor in 2019, which is Warburg Pincus came in as the investor. How we have this investor happen? We create a quite huge, like a beauty contest. Not just we need money. Money is important, but important here is the investor can bring you to next level, number one, with technology capability, with the advisory, with the vision of bring you to the grade of international level. And with things, not only that, including with the seal of approval and seal of trust to the investor community. That's the lesson I learned from this selection process. We've been more than 10 or 12 of investors during that time want to come to Converge. In fact, I still remember the Deutsche Telekom flew in the CEO, ex-CEO, flew all the way to Manila just meet me and trying to convince me to have this investment in. So we are able to get a fund needed to our expansion to build a national digital highway. So we are already in the plan laying down all this. Then pandemic struck us. Before the pandemic, we already rolling out massively, and during the pandemic, that's happened to us. But the whole plan to build the digital highway, connect besides Mindanao, is already in the master plan. Demand suddenly surged, and people were forced to stay home during the pandemic in 2022. We hit 1 million subscriber mark from start. Before the investment came in, we are not even at 100,000. With the 95% of subscribers being the first time fiber broadband users. That means how hungry the market is. And people are stay home, they realize that fiber connectivity, that's the individual home needs. Because everyone have entertainment at home, streaming at home, Zoom at home, everything become a virtual, and that technology, except fiber, can deliver that quality, stable. That's the business we went up so fast because of that. So we had to scale up and faster to keep with the increased demand for the installation need of after sales and support. During the pandemic, because of we have got a essential, because this is a individual our Filipino consumer needs, and we need to build up. Imagine in 6 month period, we monitor the demands shoot up almost 5 times compared to ordinary days. And even the vehicle requirement, if I order the 500 unit of vehicles, they will not give you the same day. No? This is takes them a while because it's a knockdown already. Took us 4 to 5 months to build up the resources, including training, and finally we need to build our Converge University to able to train the new hired people. And during the pandemic, we need to scatter our customer support. We built in less than 3 months support center throughout Pampanga, Ortigas, Manila, and social distancing is applied because existing setup, you cannot have a close contact with each other. So that's minimum of 2 meters away. So that's give us a nightmare to make this happen. More importantly, at the same time, we are hiring the people and begin expanding the fiber network. In the middle of this pandemic, we plan to go to our IPO. If talking about IPO at this year, imagine this is my first time IPO, and I understand through financial advisor, usually without pandemic, you're going to country like New York, Singapore, but in a day you meet 2 to 3 investors. Because of pandemic, we are forced to wear jogging pants and jacket on top and talking every hour of investors. So this became more effective and efficient. In a day, we have 10 to 12 investors just sitting each hour to talking with the investor. Finally, we finished close in a month, more than hundreds of investors of Converge, and turn out became one of the biggest and one of the successful during that time of the IPO. When we built this in October, we used this capital, we raised more than close to $550 million from the IPO, built our national digital highway. We have a twin strategy when we come to the network. Expansion, we call go deep and go national. Go deep means we go strengthen our network in the area we have already operating. To reach the unserved and underserved area, this means reaching smallest porok, barangay, where no other telco has ventured to give service to. Go national means wider our network to reach new market with include Visayas, Mindanao. And during this pandemic, we connected the subsea cable. We built 20 landing stations throughout the country. This is 2,500 kilometers. And this is planned ahead in 2016 and executing during the pandemic. When they said that the National Digital Highway, which means fiber backbone connecting all the major islands across the country. Now Converge has the most advanced and youngest cable system in the country today. Our total fiber asset has reaching over 500,000 kilometers throughout the country. We are now over 12 million Filipino home pass network, with 5.7 million fiber ports ready to serve our Filipino. From the few thousands of customers when we started in Pampanga, we now have over 1.8 million subscribers nationwide. By 2023, we are reaching 55% home pass network, 2 years ahead of our original IPO target on 2025. So where we go from here? The past few months, we have been uneasy. We are facing another disruption when the increase of number of COVID cases and raising price of fuel and commodities. We welcome to the new President Ferdinand Marcos, Bongbong Marcos, to lead us in next 6 years. In his SONA, we are pleased that his new administration prioritizes universal connectivity, especially in his critical line with the digitalization in the heart of everything that we do. As I mentioned of the business community, myself, I urge that we keep our focus on following priorities. Keeping everyone safe from COVID. The pandemic is far over. Even we have been enjoying loose restriction just past 2 months. The threat, a COVID doom alert and infection rate is increasing. With a plot of the intention of the government as started by the President in SONA, strengthen booster and vaccination drive in the country. We hope that the promise having mentioned Center of the Disease Control and Prevention, as well as the Vaccination Institute, we will come true. We have to stay vigilant against the virus. There are some challenges having business community on imposing hybrid work from home arrangement. The solution to this such problem are complex, but it's better to be safe. These are difficult times, I admit, but the cooperation from the business sector and sound economic management from the incoming administration, we can survive this economic downturn. This leads me to my second point. Overall economic recovery is an uphill battle. External geopolitics crises such as the Russia-Ukraine conflict have been heavily impact the prices of commodity. The former Agriculture Secretary, William Dar, spoke of the impending food crisis in the country. This is on top of recent fuel price hike, weakening of peso, and the rising interest rates. More than ever, the government is going to need the business sector to help shoring up the economy. Many are saying the economic momentum built up in the years past was severely derailed, not just by the pandemic, but also the noise of politicking. However, I think it's up to us, the business community, to do our part in regarding investor confidence and lead the way, making the Philippines viable place for the investment again. As number of tech companies were actually born out of the recession. The most popular which was the Microsoft found in 1975 when the US was in middle of 16 months economic downturn. Hewlett Packard released its product sound testing device sold to Warner Disney Company in 1939. Just after so-called 1937 and 38 recession with the Great Depression. Netflix as streaming services was actually introduced in 2007, which is we know was a start of global financial crisis. What I'm trying to say here is the business can thrive during the crisis. And every successful business is step towards economic recovery. So let us do what we can do best. Keep our shop running, identify opportunity, innovate, and continue help improve lives. Lastly, I invite the fellow business leaders here to embark on the project that I think has slowed down in the past years, which is national building. nation building. I see my work in Converge in connecting unserved and underserved, the Filipino community contributing to the nation building. But promoting digital democracy and extending the right of connectivity to the marginalized, Converge is open up new opportunity for Filipinos. I have always said that digital connectivity is a right of everyone and not a privilege of a few. As an ICT company, we see ourselves as a digital enabler of the country. We are advocating for the rights of the connectivity, and we hope that you are seeing our humble effort to bring world-class connectivity to the Filipino people. We are pleased to note that President Marcos has underlined the myth of the universal connectivity is in the first zona. Universal connectivity, according to the Broadband Commission of Sustainable Development, is helping access to the reliable and affordable device and service to connect to the internet no matter where are you in location, your economic status, race, and gender. According to the Inclusive Internet Index of 2022, commissioned by Meta and the Economic Intelligence Unit, the Philippines ranked 53 global out of 100 countries in terms of internet inclusion. The pillar of drag down of country score is on two things: affordability and readiness. Therefore, this room for the improvement for both of the business side and the policy side. With the government supporting digitalization, we can say we stand firm behind initiative to bring about greater connectivity. To share something very close to my heart, I plan to build the biggest digital hub and tech city in the country. We will be held in Pampanga. I want to build an ecosystem with innovation and technology where we can cultivate the ideas of young entrepreneurs and the students. I want to produce technology-minded students and the business people that will know the direction of technology and create solutions for the future. And I urge the business community to do their part in nation building as well. And despite of the needs of still remain profitable during these hard times, I encourage you look and bigger costs to help. Now is not the time to turn inward or mind own businesses. Rather now, more than ever, should go out our comfort zone and seek out large costs that help the common Filipino. In closing, as seasoned businessmen and women, we know the disruption is not always a bad thing. Converge disrupted the internet market in the Philippines because we believe that Filipinos deserve a experience better. They need to the third choice for the connectivity. Our disruption shocked the duopoly in action, and now more people are enjoying better connectivity through fiber. Today, no matter what happened, we remain focused our mission to fiber power the Filipino nation and provide the unserved and underserved world-class connectivity. Thank you again for this opportunity, and presents good morning to all of you.
So again, thanks very much to Dennis for that great presentation. There's so many questions to ask, and for those of you who are joining us on Microsoft Teams, you can please put your questions on the chat box so that one of my colleagues will alert me to those questions. For those of you who are in the room, when we wrap up a short chat that Benj, Dennis, and I will have here, please raise your hand, and one of my colleagues will go to you with a microphone for your questions. Okay, so just a few reminders. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do first, before we go to questions from Teams and from you, is Benj, Dennis, and I will have a quick chat here. But like I said, anyone who has questions, please signal to us so that we'll get to your questions as soon as possible. I'll apologize to the guys here who are seeing my back, but at least it's my back, not theirs. And if there's anyone else who's sitting on the other side, there are new chairs over here where you can be closer to us. So thanks again. I'll turn over to Benj now to start our conversation here.
Thanks, Coco. Really interesting insights that you shared, Dennis. Thank you. I think one of the things that you led with was I guess the introduction of your first investment from Warburg Pincus, and that's been heavily featured in the news, and I think one of the things that people are most curious about, because of how successful you were there. What did you learn from that experience, and what did you learn directly from Warburg Pincus that you feel like new entrepreneurs should know?
When enter to this private equity, we should, especially in my case, that's experience already past. We learn a lot, no? Number one, if you want to go to the international market, you should have the investor confidence. That's very, very important. To seal of approval, the confidence of that private equity bring to you, because when they invest this private equity to any company like us, like me, and even they have track record. So before they come to you, they make sure this company can deliver and can execute. And two, they will provide you necessary advices and what going to touch and CapEx driven and or whatever projection, all this to able to attract all these investors want to come in. That's my first time. I don't have that experience at all, in fact. And to learn this from I select rightly, because there's more than 12 of them. We have like a beauty contest happen, and they pitch us. And simple, I'm asked what you can contribute to us. Not just money.
I think your law firm is actually here.
Yeah, we have one law firm. Tonet is also here. He's helping us for the access and during that time. Ed also here. Yeah, he's a Robert site before. Yeah.
I think you asked, like, you don't know if anyone has experienced that before. Not many have experienced an investment of $250 million. So thank you for that insight. The thing that I think I was most impressed about in your talk, in your presentation, though, was go deep and go national. And it sounds like it's very close to your heart, and I think this is where Converge and Telstra have very similar values, and that you're trying to bring connectivity to as many people as you can, and that you see it as a right. So now that you're reaching so many new households that have never had fiber before, how do you think that's going to change commerce in the Philippines, and what is Converge doing to prepare for that?
In the Philippine market, we also, the people in average age of us is very young. We are only 27 ages, among the Asian country we're the youngest. In terms of digital savvy, the youngest people, they are addicted. That's why you can see, they said, survey in the Facebook, we have 80 million users in this country. And using social media network, they hitting the 8 to 10 hours a day, right? So the adoption is there. And the users, at the same time, we're English country, and we don't have problem with on this adoption. The problem here is access to stable connectivity. Day one. We have 25 million homes in this country. As of today, I think penetration home pass is getting better after we came in, and this challenge is too big one to able to come up. But the next level, affordability issue is coming in also. So as of today, the fiber connection to the home, not even 4.5 million connected. We have 25 million. So that means it's less than 20%. So we still have a lot of room to do. And what's the reason they cannot, they don't have this access, this affordability? So that is next part. I need to look into it. We have that plan to able to reach that level, to able to bring digital connection to individual Filipino. Because digital connection is so important now. Everyone go to digital education, healthcare, everything, every segment of society need. This is like water and power already. It's a basic necessity for improvement the lives of the individual.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And so with all this such fast-paced expansion, and you're reaching these millions of homes, and Filipinos spending nearly 50% of their time online. You talked a little bit earlier about how quickly you had to ramp up your customer support and build all these sites in the middle of a pandemic with social distancing. What programs now is Converge doing for employees to be able to support customers?
The training is very important to able to, and the new platform, because with data analytics right now, with this digital transformation of our back-end network, because we grew so fast, the back-end, we need to scale up also to able to catch the demand of the support. And we actually, our transformation, hopefully by these few months, is totally 100% switch already, because we have still two systems. The growth of this demand and transformation is not overnight, no? So we are there already to make our customer access to us is faster, and customer experience become better. And in terms of, you mentioned about these things of customer care, there's a lot of technology down there in terms of database. You able to have, you extend that to able to get the pattern, all these behaviors, and proactively, you will know what is the problem of the network, whatever the issues. We are in the stage of this digital transformation to help our employees to understand, to help customer support better.
It's an excellent point, and I think many companies still think of data analytics as something that you do when you gain a certain level of maturity, but it's good to hear that you're doing it very early in the process. It's good to hear. I think my last question, maybe before we go to some online questions, you were a judge recently in a reality TV show. So you're a little bit of a celebrity outside of the ICT sector. I think the show was called The Final Pitch. You talk a lot about how disruption is good. What was the most memorable thing from either a pitch or lesson from that show?
Well, I learned all this, the process of this, looking at this technology, want to pitch from the investment. No? So you need to have a deeper understanding the product. You have execution. Everyone ideas is there, right? So ideas is free, but bottom line here is execution. How are you going to execute? That's a big challenge, no? So because of that pitch, final pitch, I just have not locally investment, but I recently invest to the Silicon Valley company, AI company, a chipset design for total control for the cybersecurity. The company called Axiado. So I recently, the single largest Filipino investor. I'm the investor there now. I'm sitting that board right now, and that's one I have. And the other company in terms of the IoT network, and hopefully this is we finalize soon. And this is we build separate infrastructure to able to serve the niche market for the Internet of Things. You know, this is the next level.
It's good to hear that you're. This is work. It's good to hear that you're. It's good to hear that you're prioritizing cybersecurity and making investments in that area. Coco, do you want to go to an online question?
Yeah, before we go to questions from both Microsoft teams, and here please on the floor, one of the reasons why we try to organize experimenting with this this layout is hopefully to encourage you to and make it easier for you to ask questions from Dennis and even from Benj. Before we go to that, one of the things that Dennis, one MBC finds very important is for companies. Could we get a working mic? One of them is not working well. Is for companies to really think, act, and compete globally. And the last part that you mentioned, investing in a Silicon Valley firm, that's exactly in line with MBC thinking. We think that too many Philippine companies just focus on the Philippines and not enough on the bigger world where we can compete. Could you tell us why you started to think about that, and how difficult was that to execute?
You know, when you travel around these tech companies in the world, majority you can see they are all mostly Filipinos, and it's so sad to say where they are here, right? So I'm thinking because of the ecosystem and opportunity is not here. That's why they are there, no? But if you're thinking the technology, knowledgeable in terms of technology, we have a lot of talents, so much talents. So global thinking, the technology, you should always ahead of everyone. Technology changes so fast. You need to be adapt quick. So like this, when I invest this cybersecurity things, this is in computing itself. So you think ahead of, this is none in the market yet, but there's a scientist, there's data science combination with cybersecurity, put them together in controlling that one. No? The other things for the able to open up the regional you mentioned, there's a lot of market. Philippines is lucky country. We are in the middle of Asia. We are not thinking, if you're talking with the digital hub, this is the perfect location. With the trade war happening in US and China right now, Philippines should be benefiting all this in location-wise. No? The cable landing to US, they cannot go to China water. Where they go? They should go to Philippines in the location-wise. Even Asia Pacific country, Singapore and other country, Vietnam, going to US, they pass to Pacific Ocean water, which is downstream of us, which is, we have newly invest on that Bifrost cable. It's the first cable from Singapore all the way to LA. That is landed in Davao now, in 2024. So this is so important. If you're talking the opportunity on the Asia Pacific and globally, not just a capacity base, but include technology sites, so many opportunity for the Filipino people.
Thanks very much. I'll ask you two semi-personal questions, and then we'll go to questions from the audience here in Microsoft Teams. Number one, when you were talking about how you started in the time of Pinatubo all the way to where you are now, I always like to ask CEOs like yourself, when did you, and entrepreneurs, and more importantly, entrepreneurs like yourself, when did you realize that, and you talked about, you have the idea, the problem is execution. When did you realize that, and this is not to be unhumble, that I'm big already, that I'm a player, and that this is not going to collapse overnight. It's just a question of how big I can make it. That's question number one. Question number two, I think most of us know, or maybe not all of us know, the other reason why your company is unique is that your president is your wife. And that's been a partnership that's been there from the beginning. How has that been instrumental in building this company? So first, when did you know that you were big? And second, how instrumental has your partnership with Grace been?
The feeling of the big of the company, when you build something like your passion, what you're doing, your excitement, you enjoy it, right? Which is, that's my character. I'm not, until now, I'm not feeling my company that's really this period of time. I'm still normal, no? In terms of talking to my people, everything, I still ground, no? In terms of the help of the wife is so important because in the decision, my wife is accountant, CPA. I'm engineer. So at the end of the day, the perfect combination is technology and control. In every business, you don't have a control, we lose. Simple. So end of the day, in terms of investment returns, all these things, my wife, that's his job and that's his expertise.
Thanks very much. We're going to take questions. If you didn't know, where is Grace?
Yeah.
Sorry. Grace is over here, the president of Converge ICT. Okay, we're going to take questions from the floor here. Please just raise your hand and one of my colleagues will come with you with a microphone. And I think if there are questions from the Microsoft Teams, Tricia, will you be the one to read them? Okay, we'll take questions first from here in the floor. Please just raise your hand. Any question? Anyone? Yep, I think I see Marivik. I actually don't have my glasses. I brought the wrong glasses, but I think I know that's Marivik. Please introduce yourself and your company and then ask the question.
Okay, good morning everyone. I'm Marivic Españo, Chair and CEO of Punong Bayan and Arroyo. Well, Dennis, thank you for the inspiring story. What struck me was that as you move towards becoming a listed company and now having international investors, you start your own journey to embracing good governance practices as well as sustainability. And for most companies, local companies, sometimes they look at it as a something to comply with. Can you share with us how that journey has been and what are the positives and negatives, if there are, that you've experienced along the way?
That's good. The governance is so important in the public company because you meet the public. That's why when the company getting bigger and bigger, all these standards should be followed. No? That's why we have, luckily, we have a strong working board with us. Manny is here, Governor Sai, Attorney Francis. All these are professional. In fact, they are totally independent and helping us. And at the same time, we are getting professionals people to make sure our standards should be followed. Or else, because investors will shy away. They're so scared. If you don't do open your operation or your governance, investment level, all these standards should be in terms of audit and everything should be open. I'm personally believe because I travel a lot and I learn a lot from internationally. That's why for me, adoption, I open with it. And also my wife is working with a multinational company. When I met my wife, she's from IBM working. That's why the practice, the corporate governance, corporate practice, to her is just a sort of, is part of his life already. Yeah.
Do you have a follow-up to that, Marivic? Was there a question here? Yep, Tonette. I'll run to you.
Hi, Dennis. Hi, Bench. Hi, I'm Tanet Kyoge. I am the Executive Vice President of AG&P Manila. I'm also a partner in the Romulo Law Firm. And yeah, I've worked with both actually Dennis and Bench in both of their endeavors. And I have two questions. You can choose to answer them however you like. So first is, I guess the lawyer in me just wants to know how you think the industry will change because of the government now allowing foreigners to enter both telco and other, I guess, telco-related industries in the Philippines. And in relation to that also, or I guess as a separate question, how important is and what can the industry do? I mean, not just at telco, but how important is government support in terms of lessening bureaucracy, allowing players to just do their business, and I mean even less than subsidy, but just helping industries also penetrate the areas where it has been challenging and difficult in the past years.
Maybe Dennis first and then Benj.
I think for the Foreign Investment Act to the telco industry open up, I think this is big welcome to the Philippines. Our country is totally unique compared to Asian neighbors. We have so many islands. It's not easy to rolling out the infrastructure. That's why you need to hybrid multi-technology to able to deliver the infrastructure to the Filipino people, especially those far-flung islands, not reachable by the infrastructure, by fiber, not viable in subsea because the cost doing the fiber is too expensive. That's the perfect of doing some satellites because the satellites now is getting better and better technology in a low orbit and this high capacity. So with the hybrid technology, I think reaching the Filipino consumer is better now compared before. That's why the open up with the regulation, all these things, I think just past week, we just have advised our new administration to easier and come out with the executive order. I think we lobby in the executive order to able easy doing business for this infrastructure rolling out. Sometimes you can see the problem of these operators. Barangay is more powerful than Congress. That's happening now over the country. Even the local government can create their own law to delay you and to punish you. So we need to address that, to able to fastering and roll out. That's why we lag behind among the Asian countries, not reaching. People are punished is the way you not bring the infrastructure to them as soon as possible.
Thanks very much, Benj.
Yeah, I think first. Does this work?
It's working. It's working.
I think first, foreign players entering the Philippines is crucial in many ways for local companies, to continue to develop. Right, there are many things that we can learn from our foreign counterparts. They may not necessarily be able to implement here. But we can still learn from them. And just taking Telstra as an example, there is so much that Telstra does to reach regional Australia and prioritize people in remote areas where the hard lines are not available or accessible. And because of that, there are people in underserved communities that have access to basic needs. Healthcare online, and just information, right? And while people in remote areas in the Philippines are not as far away from bigger cities or major metropolitan areas, they're still just as remote and need the same access. And so there's a lot of lessons learned there. Even in the way we market to consumers, the way we handle customer service and processes, right? Many of our employees in the Philippines will come from sort of companies that are quite used to having a lot of bureaucratic processes, whereas in big markets around the world they kind of do away with that, and so I think that helps and sort of leads to your second question. Government and the ICT industry should absolutely partner more strategically. I don't think the relationship between government and the ICT industry should be transactional, where the industry players try to do one thing and government will sort of enact a law or to sort of respond to that, right? There's got to be sort of a partnered growth effort. I think the ICT industry has the very best intentions in like Converge, trying to reach millions of underserved households and communities. The government should absolutely, sort of match that by taking away the bureaucracy and the effort, and just partnering with the industry on that.
Thanks very much. Do you have a follow-up to that? Are there more questions from the audience here before we go to? Joey has one. Actually, before Joey's question, Dennis, I'd like to make a comment. We talk a lot about ease of doing business, including particularly for infrastructure. So we're very interested in this EO that you're talking about. But all of that talk, I think that we do about that, I think you encapsulated it perfectly when you said barangay is more powerful than Congress. I think that's exactly, and my colleague Roxanne is here. We talk about this all the time. That, I think, will be the title of our paper going forward. There, the Homeowners Association as well. Joey.
Hi, Joey De Venetia of Atreides Consultants. Congratulations, Dennis, for all your achievements. Just wanted to ask you, since telco has always been quite competitive, especially in urban areas, and sometimes could be commoditized by just selling bandwidth, how do you create that stickiness for consumers to be able to stay on your network as the other giants enter those markets and compete with you?
That's so important, very good question. When you build a digital highway in deliver to the home, this is on top of that highway, individual consumer can do a lot of things in that highway. I'm saying the fiber to the home all the way, that you have speed, no limit at all. I tell you, we can go up to 10G up to the home. That's how fast the technology is. Then on top of that, there's so many value added you can bring on top. In the IP base right now, you can do entertainment, you can do gaming, you can do digital e-commerce, and all this highway you build, you have digital base of the consumer, and you can do value added financial services, you can do digital payment, all these things on top of the consumer convenience. And the future is edge computing, bring it the nearest of the consumer, that means the technology in terms of lags, because you bring computing to near individual house than now, because it's the bigger data center you captured, and because of heavily use of the data in the future and the technology towards that. So when you build the highway, on top of the highway, you can do a lot of things in the future.
Joey, are you doing gaming already?
No, I'm not.
Well, if you want to be sticky, that's how you get sticky, Joey. There was a question here. Was there a question? Over here, sorry. Over there. Please introduce yourself and your company and ask your question.
Hello. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, Jobert David from Palo Alto Networks. Dennis, thanks again for that inspiring speech. No, I mean, as a technologist, I was really touched on how you would like to go deep, especially on go national and go deep. Probably, my question would be, I know Converge has reached a lot of connectivity, especially on homes. And then you mentioned about AI and IoT. And probably in your mind is, what do you think would be the next big thing for Philippines in terms of the digital space?
You know, a lot of in digital space, things of happen. In each industry, you need technology involvement to able to bring the business better. Because with technology innovation and technology intervention, everything do it faster. And scientifically, with all, especially the big data and everything, you have proper right decision because data cannot lie. That's reality. Before, the old things, everything you just analyze things. But now, because of this ICT technology involvement to individual business sector, not only business sector, including individual life. So, end of the future, a lot of things can happen. Country needs today is cybersecurity, that's very important. Next is this specialized, we need a lot of Filipino data analysts. All these things. Each country, each operation, each company need this kind of expert. I tell you, on the future, this young generation will benefiting what happened in the technology today.
Any more questions from the audience? One over here and then one over here. Here on the right. Yep.
Hi. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Makati Business Club. I'm Jig Reyes. I'm the CEO of Avaya Philippines. Sir, old friends. But this is my last week as CEO of Avaya Philippines. I told Coco already. Next week, the next meeting, I'll be joining you as the director of Comscope Philippines.
Thank you very much.
My question is more personal, sir, because I was probably one of the first Converge customers in the Philippines, very, very early. Back when Dexter Stan was still your CIO. So that was a very long time ago. So it's not a question actually, because you were saying you were challenged with support, etc. I'd like to give you a customer satisfaction comment. I'm one very satisfied customer. In fact, I live in a very old village in Manila, Santa Ana. Highly converged, very high residences, an old neighborhood. And one of the things that really struck me and inspired me about your talk is that I know this firsthand. Your installers actually went through a lot of roofs of my neighbors, because back then you had very few cabinets. So you had to go through a lot of pain just to go to a cabinet. Yeah? And they asked the permission of my neighbors without me knowing, pwede ho bang tumawid? Kasi pupunta kami doon kay Mr. Reyes. Siguro mga 5 na bahay yung hindi ko kilala yung kapitbahay ko, sila nakilala nila. No? So that's one. Another one is, it's true, and I'd like to testify in support of you, na I've probably increased my speed in my home 3 times already without you asking for a single centavo in addition to the charge. So I'm very happy. I've already cut my 2 other redundancies at home because I don't need it, simply because I don't need it. And one other thing that I think you should stick to is, even though you're challenged with your support, actually, you're better off than the other providers, because when we ask you why there's no internet, you actually have an answer. There's somebody in Converge telling us there's a fiber cut in Malate. They know exactly where things are. So don't be too hard on yourself, because you're actually doing a very good thing, and I'd like to compliment you for that. The second question is, I'm sure
Jig, if it's okay, can we keep it to one question, then we'll go here, then we'll go to the audience, if that's okay?
I was going to contribute some marketing to the...
We can do that after the cycle. Dennis, aside from teaching your people how to do trespassing in a very polite way, could you talk a bit about customer service?
Actually, especially in this country, it's very hard. We have hundreds of fiber cuts every day. Why? Because there's no clear, proper regulation in terms of the access, in terms of the fiber roads. Everyone can dig left and right. We have the most gagamba already in down of our soil. Crisscross all the optics all over. So this is the problem of the regulation when, unlike the first world country, you have sidewalk, you have drainage, you have electrical line, you have communication line, you have gas pipeline, you have a sign. Now, everywhere, digging, DPWH, digging left and right, drainage left and right, and I will tell you this is disruption and this is the service to the consumer. And that's why we need us in ourselves, we provide the advanced technology and we put multiple redundancy to the nodes to enable less impact, but there's no perfect. Important is once the down, you need notify quickly and you respond quickly. That's only we can do now. But on the future, we're going to create more paths in backbone, dual ring, triple ring. In case there's cut, you can circumvent to other routes. We try our best, but compared to, I think we are lobbying for this proper regulation soon. No?
Thanks very much, Dennis. A question here, and then we'll go to the questions from Microsoft Teams. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheska Yap. I'm part of Collabora Technologies here in Makati. With all the success, this is more personal, right? With all this success, congratulations. How do you keep yourself grounded? A life advice for people starting up just like myself.
I'm started from ground. That's why I'm always staying grounded. I'm not feeling whatever I do. It's just only passion. I'm enjoying whatever I success build and make my consumer and make our Filipino consumer happy. That's my enjoyment. But in terms of who I am today, I'm from there already before.
Thanks very much. Trisha, do you have questions from MS Teams? Is it Trisha or Rox? Sorry.
Sure. Yes, so we have a question from Celeste Ilagan from IBPAP who couldn't join us today. So her question is on the premise of IT and BPO. As a leader of a company and an industry whose own growth is tied to the continued growth of the BPO industry, how do you think you can lead your team and also help influence and lead your colleagues in the telco industry to support the needs of the IT BPO industry?
I think the talent of, we are number one in terms of sector of this outsourcing now. We surpass India in terms of employment. I think all this sector, they need to adapt quick all this transformation because a lot of things can switch in terms of new data, AI, automations, all these things might affect our employment. No? But if you adapt earlier, still we still need this talented. In terms of technology-wise, I think we should have. There's a lot of new technology, all this cloud hosted, all these things. Usually they have all that already. To provide a better connectivity, all these BPO sectors, they not stay in one because of happening to have this downtime. They cannot afford. They have thousands of people. In terms of, we have more digital fiber now roll out all over the country. And usually they're looking less expensive and they go outside. This BPO not necessarily they stay in Manila. They can stay outside, give provinces and more universities, less this cost cheaper. And infrastructure is there, that's very important. The priority is they have the right infrastructure to serve them, and which is we are here. And I'm trying to reaching, I think as of today, we have more than 900 municipalities already in terms of our network. And we keep going. And I want to stop up to 2025 to reaching all the major municipalities and cities throughout the country. That's our role here.
Thanks very much. Trisha?
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jessica Fennell of ABS-CBN News. She would like to ask if you could briefly expound on your partnership with Starlink and Elon Musk.
Actually, this technology is new, no? And in fact, we have some collaboration in terms of infrastructure, but I think they want to operate their own. No? The technology is there. I'm so happy because I'm personally a technology guy. And this country, because especially we have so many islands, no? We need this kind of services. No? But important here, the regulation should be followed. That's I'm always say it. No? If you're a Filipino company, you go to US, can you getting the same of what the government offered them, right? So they're using our Filipino frequency. They should have a congregation of franchise. They should pass to our regulatory. Even each company, you go to each country, you need to pass the regulation. FCC, you go to US, you need to pass FCC. And they came out with the executive order. Actually, those who understand this field, I'm personally against it. Because you're using the frequency of the Filipino country. And frequencies belong to state. And that should be properly handling well. In due time, this frequency used, and you cannot recall from them anymore. And that's they're trying to do in India also. And what happened to India? They did not came into India because of that. So we need to be careful. And technology, I'm so happy. We can collaborate. And in terms of the business, we don't have any conflict because our segment is totally different. Fiber is a lot better than satellite. Satellite is just used for those who cannot reachable. It's become a complementary. But the satellite is very expensive. Yeah.
Last question from Teams.
Yes, so our last question comes from Resty of Babylon2k.org. His question is, during these extraordinary times and now that Converge is continuously growing, how would you say is your company hiring more workers? What kind of workers does your company and our economy would need moving forward?
You know, Dennis, when you were talking about cyber and data analysis, data analysts, I was just scared for you because everybody's hiring for the same job. We've been meeting with government officials, and the BIR says they're going to be hiring a lot of data analysts to do their work better. So good luck on that competition. But how are you going about that hiring?
That's why important you need to keep up the trainings. With so many young people, with so many university, in the curriculum, in the school, we need to put these things, high demand jobs. We need to came in that to able to support all these newly graduate, so many, and finally they mismatch. And that's why they're losing the jobs, right? So that's so important. And we have so many platform and we so many technology company need to go together with sector of ICT and education to able to bring down to the training sectors.
Yeah, if I could add to that, you know, the industry that saw the most growth, I think in the last 20 years now, is the BPO industry, and you know, it was grown on the back of customer service, technical support, primarily on the voice channel, right? And you know, somewhere I think it was maybe 10 years ago or more, you know, the Philippines overtook India in terms of the contact center space, right? The India still leads the Philippines when it comes to sort of the higher value technical services, I think. But the reality is that whatever India can do in terms of technology, you know, software development, the Philippines can also do. We just don't think of ourselves, I think, you know, in that space. And it's reflected in, you know, the number of graduates that we put out in the technical fields. But what we definitely have to make that shift, and it's not going to be just one sector. It's not just going to be the ICT sector or you know software development that needs or that can make that change. It's got to be government. It's got to be education. You know, everyone's got to build you know that capability before we can you know scale up.
Thanks very much, Benj. We're going to be wrapping up. If there are more questions here from the floor, please feel free to ambush Dennis before he walks out the door. We were very pleased to see all of you talking earlier before the event. We hope that continues after the event. I'll have a last question for Dennis. The question will be, you talked about how uneasy, I think the word you used was uneasy, that the recovery is going to be very uneasy. The recovery will be very uneasy, you said, of the economy. So my question for you, but before you answer, my question for you will be, what for you is the biggest risk or fear that you see ahead? But also, what for you is the biggest source of confidence that we, the Philippines, the economy, and the business sector will surpass that? Before Dennis answers that question, where the uneasiness comes from, meaning the big risk, but also where the big confidence comes from. Could I ask everybody in the room and also on Teams, we'd really appreciate your feedback. I think you see QR codes on your tables. Do they see QR codes on their tables? If you could scan that and fill up our feedback form, we'd really, really appreciate that. For those of you who are on Teams, one of my colleagues will be flashing a QR code as well, or a link, and you can click on that for your comments. And on to my last question. Dennis, when you look at the recovery going forward, what for you is the biggest risk, but also where do you get the most confidence going forward?
I think the regulation should be stable. That's very important. Attracting the foreign investors. We should have looking to competitiveness against regional countries. One, our power is the most expensive among the Asian countries. How the industry will work for us if your power is too expensive? Compare Malaysians in Korea. And you're talking about hyperscaler data center want to build in the Philippines. The power itself is killing your investment, killing your operation costs. That's one. Second, in terms of government incentive, should be put in standard, not changed overnight. That's scared a lot of foreign investors. So the creating, there's a lot of investors already. Hard to bring in them, and suddenly in middle of that game they change. So it's not add to confidence. So we need to really look into it. In terms of future, I encourage, in fact, our new administration is willing, in fact, encouraging the PPP. PPP is need hungry this country to able to bring more infrastructure to those who need it. A lot of, especially in our tourism sectors, we are the best beaches among the world, I tell you. All this area, water, why is Thailand is more better than us in terms of tourism? Why is Vietnam picking up? Even just only Sabah, Kutak Kinabalu, every year, how many tourists they have before pandemic compared to the entire country. Why? Because we lack of infrastructure, lack of stable power also. We need to address this.
So the promise of PPP that this administration is making, that's where the confidence might come from.
Yes, private partnership can fast track and build more infrastructure for our people.
Thanks very much. Please join me in thanking Dennis and Benj for today's conversation. We'd like to thank all of you who came here today to the Fairmont, and also everyone who joined us on Microsoft Teams. Thank you very much for that. Before we go, please let me remind you of our upcoming events. First, we have the third installment of this year's Extraordinary Times series. That will be Lito Tayag of Accenture on August the 26th. And please, we'd like to introduce you as well to our website and our social media. If you can go to either or both of those, and please follow them or like or share our posts. If you do follow them, then you'll get more updates on our upcoming events, which we would really like to see all of you in. So we encourage you to like or share our social media. Good day to everybody. Again, thank you to Dennis and Benji and Grace and the whole Converge team and Microsoft and Telstra who are here. Thank you very much. Please have a good day.
Thank you very much.